RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Iron Debate, the show where we settle the score. This is a pre-Arnold Classic episode of Iron Debate. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. We are joined by our esteemed panel. First, we go to Staten Island, New York, and meet IFBB Pro Dominic Cardone. We swing over to New Jersey, IFBB veteran 212 Pro Guy Cisternino. And then, of course, we go to our Cape Coral studios down in Florida and meet Dave Palumbo. So today's topic, guys, we're going to be talking about the breakout stars of this upcoming 2020 Arnold Classic. Now, when we talk about the breakout stars, we're talking about one of, if not the most, obviously outside of the Olympia, one of the most prominent stages in all of bodybuilding. We saw Patrick Moore compete at this last Olympia, and he certainly came out as one of the top topics coming out of Vegas, and many have him as a trendy pick to surprise and maybe finish into that top 3, top 4 quadrant. Then you look at other guys like Sergio Oliva Jr. working with Chris Cormier, seeing some of the progress that he's been making. Morgan Askew, who aside from Big Ramy, might be the biggest man on stage. And then, of course, maybe someone like Nathan Diasha, who has a New York Pro win under his belt. But when you're talking about one of the more prominent stages in all bodybuilding, should he win or should he finish in the top 4? A lot of people are going to be talking about the man out of England. Let's go to Dominic Cardone first. Dominic, you look at this lineup, you survey the landscape of this Arnold field. To you, after that Arnold Classic weekend, who are we going to be talking about as a breakout star?
You know, there's definitely a few choices here. You have Nathan, like you just said. He could come in. I mean, the last few times he's come in, it just wasn't his normal self. His body was a lot less volumized. It was a lot smaller. It wasn't as hard as we've seen him. He needs to be very big and round. Patrick Moore, who I was blown away by at the Olympia, he's definitely just could definitely be one of the top guys. Sergio Oliva, when I seen the Olympia, I'm like, okay, his time is coming. I was in California in November, and it was funny. I was walking to a hotel, and he was walking out, but I didn't know it was him. And you couldn't see his face. All I seen was this guy. I called this guy walking out, and he looked enormous. And I didn't know it was him until he spoke and came closer. Like, holy shit! And I've been following him really closely. And he's training with Chris Cormier. Aceto does his diet.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be this could be his show where he's been getting better and better. But this could be his show where he comes out and he just shocks everybody. I mean, he has a shape. He has a lines. He has the ability to come in condition. He's definitely way bigger than we've seen him. And then you also have Akeem. A lot of people look at Akeem. They sort of put him on the back burner. You know, I think he placed 10th at the Olympia, 10th or 9th. And he could have been a couple spots higher. I've seen him in person over the last few months, and he's even gotten better than the Olympia. His waist is tiny. His skin is a lot thinner. He's showed he has the ability to come in better condition at the Olympia. So there's definitely a few different choices here. But my one pick for the breakout star of this show is going to have to be Sergio Oliva, 100%.
Sergio Oliva, I think it was, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, 2017 New York Pro or 2016 New York Pro?
I think it was 17.
17. And I mean, I remember.
It was the year I had the burns, actually, so it was 17.
Yeah.
Dave, I remember your words during prejudging, watching Sergio Oliva, and I'm going to paraphrase. You said something to the effect of, like, Sergio Oliva lights up the stage. The energy that he brings to the stage is something that bodybuilding has been sorely lacking, and that's exactly that kind of charisma that he brings to the stage. Well, charisma aside, we've seen some of the progress that he has made with Chris Cormier, and of course, Dom, you said it, Chris Aceto have been doing his diet for quite the time now. But, Guy, let's go to you. When you survey some of these young and upcoming stars, who do you look at as the guys who are really going to break out Arnold weekend?
Well, when I think of breakout star, I usually try to think of a newer face, not an older face. I honestly, on that stage, and I'm going to say in bodybuilding, I think Patrick Moore has one of the most structurally blessed physiques I've ever seen. From head to toe, I really think he's beyond very well put together. He's got a lot of muscle for his structure, and he can still add a lot of muscle to his frame. But he comes in peeled condition. His tan's always on. He's got good stage presence. He's definitely my breakout star, my runner-up to my breakout star, and it's only because he's been competing not as longer than Patrick Moore, would be Sergio, and that's only because I was looking at some pictures and I was like, damn, Sergio's looking like ripped and really big. So me and Chris were talking, and Chris said he put on about 10 pounds of stage weight since he last competed, which is a fucking shit ton of weight to add to the stage. So those two newer guys, that other guy you said that's a freak, I really don't know him. But the freaks usually don't add up to all the hype as we've seen in the past with many bodybuilders. So those are my two guys going in.
Dave, let's go to you. Just to point out, so Akeem did finish 9th at this past Olympia. Obviously, a great showing for him. Dave, you look at the survey. Obviously, you've been getting pictures, I believe, of Patrick Moore during the Progress run. Have you also been getting pictures of Sergio as well?
Yeah, Sergio and Akeem for that matter. So Akeem is very dangerous. His weakness is when he turns around, and it's not his back lat spread, because he's got a great back lat spread. His back double bicep's a little weak. Not from the waist down, but from the waist up a little bit. He's a little lacking in the back, and I think in this lineup, he's going to have a tough time. He's got a lot of good backs to go against between the big Rammies and the William Bonacks and Dexter. Those guys have vicious back double bicep poses. He's going to have a tough time with that. Patrick Moore, I think, is because of his balance to his physique and the conditioning he brings in, I think he's going to be the guy we're all looking for. He's going to be super dangerous. I think he's easily top 5, possibly top 3 guy in this lineup if some of these other superstars are off. Obviously, you can't discount Sergio Oliva. He's been improving. He's got stage charisma, and that's what I think the guy was talking about before. The stage charisma is something that you cannot, you practice. He's just, your eyes draw to him. The difference is that the New York Pro, he was standing next to John De La Rosa, right? Am I correct? He beat John?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Second place.
Yeah, so, John's a shorter guy. He's going to have a tougher time standing next to a big Rammy to get that wow going on stage. So I think we will probably see a good battle between Sergio, Patrick Moore, that second tier of guys that maybe are not at the Olympia top 5 level yet, but that we want to see get there. Have they improved enough to get there? That's going to be to determine. I've seen Sergio pictures. He's in shape already. He can compete tomorrow. I've seen Patrick Moore. He's pretty close to there as well. Probably in another week or so he'll be there. So these guys are good, and that's important because they're going to be able to fill up as they get closer to the show. And that's going to make them dangerous. Also, youth is important. Now, Sergio's not the youngest guy, but I know Patrick's a little younger. And these guys are in their 30s, and 30s definitely is better than 40s, as far as skin tone and tightness and what they're going to bring to the stage. I don't think a guy like Morgan Astley in his first pro show is going to be a force to be reckoned with, although he'll probably be one of the bigger guys on stage. He's a tall, big frame, structured guy. So I would say Sergio and Patrick Moore would be the guys to look for as the breakout guys. Akeem's really not a breakout guy because he's already a top 10 Olympian. But I think those 3 guys will be your waiting in the wings, looking to see if a guy like Big Rammy, Dexter, Cedric, Bonac are off. If they are, those guys are going to sneak right in there. And I think that's going to determine whoever sneaks a little higher, that's going to determine, who's the best. And don't forget, Josh Arnold has been out of action for a whole year. He could be the surprise guy of the entire show if he brings it.
Literally going to go there next.
Yeah, okay. But go ahead. There's your lead-in.
Well, I want to go back to Patrick Moore real quick because, Guy, I'm going to go to you on this one.
Yeah.
Seemingly the buzzword of 2019, conditioning, right? All the debates that we've had between today's bodybuilders and the 90s bodybuilders, conditioning and who brought it better. Well, conditioning was not a debate with Patrick Moore with what we saw on the Olympia stage. Break down what you saw when you first saw Patrick Moore enter that Olympia stage and obviously his biggest first appearance on the Olympia stage.
I said possibly a future Mr. Olympia. He has, everybody says that Phil has one of the most gorgeous, beautiful, structured shapes in bodybuilding. I've agreed with that ever since. Yeah, they could say, he had stomach issues, the hernia, fine, I get it. But structurally, Phil has a fucking gorgeous, beautiful structure. Patrick Moore has the same thing. He's got an even smaller waist. He's got a wide V taper. He's got a combination of graininess like Branch, but then you add in the lines like Flex Lewis, like that flows very well. Like he's got a gorgeous shape, and if he fills that structure out and comes in peeled and is full, he's gonna he could easily walk in and win the fucking show. I mean, that's and I'll let you ask about Josh later because I was going actually to say something and I want to, but I'll wait for you to fucking say it.
Dumb, because that's not the first time that somebody has said that exact thing, that Patrick Moore, you could see a scenario where he walks in and actually shocks the world and wins the Arnold Classic.
Absolutely.
Can you see that as a feasible possibility?
The thing is, when he came on the Olympia stage, just like Guy said, I was like, wow, this guy could be the next Mr. Olympia one day. I mean, everything about him was just perfect. But was he able to make enough improvements to his physique between the Olympia and Arnold to be able to beat out these other guys? That's the thing. Like, yes, he'll be in condition most likely. You can't argue with his structure, his lines, his shape. But did he have enough time to put at least a little more meat on in certain areas to be able to, keep up with these thicker guys?
How old is he?
He's a young guy.
Because I'm going to tell you, Dom, that's going to be a determining factor if he can or not. Because at certain age, especially in your late 20s, early 30s, like you can do a lot of damage and a lot of growth fast.
True. It was a good point. Yeah, I'm not sure how old he is. He's not.
He ain't as old as my ass, that's for sure. 7, so.
Yeah,
certainly not 37, 38 years old. Dave, let's go to you because, again, you've been, I feel as if, outside of Chris Aceto and Phil Heath, who's, Guy mentioned, has been working in the gym, the trenches with Patrick Moore. You've been obviously getting a steady stream of his progress pictures. In your opinion, are there any weak points? And yes or no, whether or not, or what do you need to see him bring up, improve, what have you, 3 weeks to the Arnold stage? Well, where did Dave go?
Dave's not in his seat.
This is a first. Oh my goodness.
He's definitely getting, his birthday's definitely coming up. He can't hold his fucking bladder no more, bro. It's getting too fucking old.
This is RX television history right here. We throw it at Dave, and this is an empty net right now.
And I'll fill in the gap. Josh Lenardowitz, he was another dark horse pick of me.
And he's a comeback story. Let's not bury that.
And I love a comeback story.
Yes.
But he was also, like Dom mentioned, so perfect example, right? Akeem. If he comes in peeled, he looks good. If Cedric comes in peeled, he could win the fucking show. If Josh Lenardowitz, Josh has been phenomenal on stage and a fucking train wreck on stage. So if Josh comes in peeled, he could win the fucking show. Like, there's a lot of guys that are extremely good bodybuilders with not a lot of current consistency. So that's where the big if factor comes in with me, is that these guys, they've competed and looked so good and then competed and looked so bad. And listen, a lot of bodybuilders have. I have this year. Look at my year was a nightmare too. But so I'm not saying it as bashing, but these guys don't have consistency to where, Josh looked good at this show, this show, this show, this show. It's, Josh looked good at, this show, and then, he was really off here, and he improved maybe a tad here. Same thing with Cedric. Cedric either balls on, balls off. Akeem, either a water buffalo or peeled. Like, there's a lot of guys in this lineup that if they walk in peeled, they could easily walk away with the title.
Well, you remember 2016 Arnold Classic. That was the Josh Lenardowitz USA coming out party, finishing third. And you said it when he's on. I mean, Dave said this, I want to say 3-4 years ago, that when Josh Lenardowitz is at his best, he is a top 10 bodybuilder, no doubt. Dom, what do you make? I mean, again, it's a great story because obviously we know Josh Lenardowitz has battled health issues. Obviously everything, that he's dealt with neurologically as well. I mean, I don't want to go into specifics, but he's dealt with serious health issues. And there have been many, who've questioned, why is he even competing? And, he addressed it on his social media. It was either today or yesterday, saying something to the effect of, like, look, he's got a kid now. And, he wants to show his kid that he's not going to give up. He's going to push through adversity. He wants to show a whole generation of bodybuilders that, life's going to happen. Things are going to happen to you. Health issues are going to happen, but you have to push through, and you have. So It's a great story. But let's talk about the physique. Dom, what do you make of Josh Nardowitz's prospects? Again, when we talk about a bigger bodybuilder in this kind of a lineup.
He can come out of left field and just, again, shock everybody if he's completely in shape. We haven't seen him on stage in a while. He has dealt with a lot through the years between, the loss of Dallas, which affected him greatly, the neurological issues and the surgery he had. It can play both ways. It can come back to where he's refreshed and he comes in and he just can almost decimate almost everybody. He's very big. He can come in shape, but like Guy said, there's that scale of either being completely off or being just dead on. And it's known the fact that Josh can be completely total opposites. And, even Chad Nichols spoke about it. Tony Doherty spoke about it, that him coming into a show, he's one of the hardest people to actually get them 100% dead on dry. So, it can go both ways. It's like so much speculation with this show. That's the thing. But if he can pull it off and if he's healthy and his mind's in a good place, he can come out of nowhere and just totally shock everybody, just as anybody else can in the show.
Dave, I know we're up against the clock a little bit, but I want you to address two things. One, what we threw to you just a couple of minutes ago, Patrick Moore, aside of Chris Cisternino and probably Phil Heath, you've probably seen the progression as best as anyone. So in your opinion, what does Patrick Moore need to do between now and the Arnold to bring his absolute best? And then second, if you can touch on this comeback story that Josh Nardowitz is authoring in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I wanted to throw out to the panel. Here's a good question. First of all, I have someone fixing my water system outside. That's where I disappeared to. When things break, man, they break in your house, and you got to go out there. But no, talking about, I want to just throw this out about Patrick Moore. Would anyone have really complained had the judges taken Patrick Moore and put him in the middle of the first call out at the Olympia, okay? And he would have been posing next to Brandon, Hadi Shupin, and William Bonac. Would he have looked out of place there?
No, but I think that was the thing too. If they stuck, you could have swapped out a few people, but if they stuck him next to certain people, he would have exposed a lot on them. Even though, but when he comes up by himself, he looks great. But then when he stood next to people, he shined even more. So I think if they did stick him in that first call-out lineup with some people, it would have been a really good look.
Right.
For him.
The worst thing that hurt Patrick Moore was simply nobody knew who the fuck Patrick Moore was.
Right, but I'm saying we all agree that he probably would have held his own easily in that first call-out. So now everyone knows who he is. Okay, they know he probably should have gotten a better look at the Olympia. Everyone wants to see him in that lineup. If he comes in shape, okay, which we'll know as soon as he comes out and does his 60 seconds of free posing, they're going to put him in that first call out. And he's going to expose a lot of people because he has nice, fresh muscle. He has no injuries. He's got no dings and dents in his physique, so to speak, like some of the older guys have. And, I think he's going to expose a lot of people. And I think that's why he's very dangerous, because if they put him in there, he will be dangerous. If he doesn't get put into that first call out and they kind of put him in that second call out or the end of the first call out, we'll never see him next to the top guy, so he won't be able to expose those guys. But if they give him the call out, okay, which I think that they have to at this point because everyone wants to see it, I think he's dangerous. I really do. I don't think he's got any weaknesses. His only weakness is maybe he could be a little bigger, but he's put on some size. We know he's going to be in great condition. I see him being very dangerous. And to me, that's, I wouldn't want to stand next to this guy. He's got beautiful symmetry and balance to his body. He knows how to get in shape. I think Josh's problem, like the guy pointed out, is that he's not consistent. And I don't think it has anything to do with whether he had, brain surgery or any one of his best friends died. That doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just he's got a tough physique. He's very big, okay? He grew real fast, and I think sometimes, depending on, the situation, he has tough time filling up. I like him when he's dry and grainy. I know he's a little flat then, but I actually think it's a good look for him. I would rather go for the slightly flatter look with better conditioning than the fuller look with no conditioning, because that doesn't work for me. I don't think it works for the judge.
You like that with everybody, Dave, because so do I.
Yeah, but that's what it's about. It's a conditioning show. Now, also coming all the way from Australia is going to suck for him too, so that doesn't help. I think for the Arnold Australia, where he's in his own backyard, we're going to see a way better Joshua Arnowitz, but the big guys never travel well. I mean, that was always Kai's problem too. Whenever he would travel, he'd hold like 400 pounds of water. He'd have to take diuretics for 3 days to get rid of it. So I think Josh is going to be less of a danger factor. I think Patrick Moore is the most dangerous guy in the lineup, you know.
Well, I asked Dom and I asked Guy, and I'll flat out ask you, and we'll close on this show, on this note, Dave. If Patrick Moore wins the 2020 Arnold Classic, would you be absolutely floored?
I would be surprised if he did, just given the level of talent that's in the lineup. But if he did, it would be the biggest upset probably in the history of bodybuilding, and his stock would go up through the roof for sure. For him to do that, we'd have to see a lot of top guys out of shape. We would have to see an out of shape Bonac, who's either too flat or just not hard enough. We'd have to see a big Ramy who didn't bring the goods. Cedric is, you know, he's a coin toss anyway. I'm not really, but those two guys would have to be really, really off for Patrick to win. And I don't think we're going to see it from both of them. And I think Dexter would be licking his chops because Dexter would be right in there too if those two guys were off, you know.
On that note, that's going to do it for this episode of Iron Debate. Plenty of more to come over the course of the next 3 weeks. We have athlete interviews lined up, analysis segments, and of course, more of these Iron Debate segments heading into the Arnold Classic. For Dom Cardone, Guy Cisternino, Dave Palumbo, and our producer Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.